Welcome to the Crossroadz, the show where we dive into the stories of unique and accomplished individuals so that you can unlock your best life. All right, Don, welcome to the Crossroadz. Thank you for being our fourth guest in the COVID-19 edition. And it's awesome, right? Because even though this is happening, now we finally have the excuse to sit down and talk with one another. So, dude, thank you for
Yeah, for
taking
sure,
time.
dude. Thank you for having me too, man. Appreciate
Dude.
you.
Appreciate you too, man. You have been on my radar for a while now, and
Ah,
especially like the reasons why I wanted to have you on this podcast of mine, this tiny little thing, is because that
man.
the past year, I believe, you started making a lot of noise. You started making a lot of different work
Mm-hmm.
on graphic design on
Yeah,
Instagram, and you started really
right.
just going out of your way to make these different compositions and these different posters and designs for different breakers, and they
Mm.
were really high quality. And it's like you can't just
Yeah.
turn away. Like
Thanks,
regardless of what
man.
you're seeing, yeah,
Appreciate it.
everybody in the scene has seen at least one of your works, and I'm sure has been a big fan of it. So,
I don't know,
dude, yeah,
but thank you.
you're welcome. And so I wanted to ask you,
Yeah,
because I know right now you're currently in Geneva, Switzerland,
yeah,
correct?
yeah, yeah,
Right? That's pretty far
yeah.
away from where I
Mm-hmm.
am, right? In San Diego. It's also pretty far from where you're from,
Yeah.
when you're raised in Philadelphia, correct? So,
No, I was
or
actually
raised born in the Philippines.
born and raised in the Philippines, and then I moved to Philadelphia, 2010 for college.
Oh, in 2010. Wow,
Yeah,
that's like pretty not. That's
yeah,
like,
pretty recent.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty recent. Okay,
No,
I
but before Philly, I'll just because before Philly, we were also well, basically, my family's from the Philippines, and then 2005 we moved to New York, and then from New York, like a year, it was too expensive, so we moved to the Poconos, which is 2 hours away from Philly, like the suburbs.
okay,
And then, so from I guess 2006, 2007 until 2010, like I was in the Poconos in the suburbs. And then for college, I went to Philly, and then yeah. So
got
from
you.
2010 to I don't know when I left to come here. So I was in Philly before that. Yeah,
I see. And what you started
yeah.
college? What year did you begin? Was that 2012?
2010,
2010. Okay.
like August of 2010, I started
Okay.
like my first year of
Got you.
college.
Was that at Temple University?
Yeah, yeah,
Got
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Okay. And was that the first time that you were introduced to breaking, or did you have a relationship with breaking before that?
That was actually that was the first time I practiced with actual b-boys.
Wow.
So yeah, because I like coming from the Philippines, I had no knowledge of hip hop. You know what I mean? Like, well, my eldest brother, he had like he had Ja Rule and 50 Cent CDs.
Oh,
So I was like kind of familiar of it, not really. But then, so I had no knowledge. 2008, my brother, he 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 figured out how to hack a PSP, you know, the little handheld
yeah.
games. And then I found this game, V-Boy the game. I'm
Oh,
sure you're familiar, and whoever's listening to Breaker, you're familiar. And I asked him to, you know, hack my PSP and download that game so I can play it for free. And it was around the same time when America's Best Dance Crew was around. And so, you know, that was like kind of not really my introduction to hip hop, but to like my introduction to breaking. Like I saw that and I was like, oh, this is cool. And I have this game. So what I would do is I would play the game, I would unlock the moves so I know the names, and then I would
oh,
YouTube it. And so that's
wow.
how I learned, yeah. And then I got to like the coin drop. I learned the coin drop. It was like the footworks, and I got to the coin drops. And then after the coin drop, it was getting hard. It's like the windmills and like all the power moves, the spice. I couldn't do it, so I stopped playing the game. And so I just kind of like stopped kind of learning new moves. So I just would just stay in my mom's garage. Is in the suburbs. Like 2008, I was just after I couldn't like I learned the coin drop, but then after that it was too hard, so I just stopped learning new moves. So I just kind of play music and just dance around in the garage. And then 2 years later is college time. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to Philly because there's b-boys there. And then
Was that
that's when
your
I actually
so what were the reasons? What were your factors in choosing which college you're gonna go to?
breakers.
That
That's
was
it.
straight up. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
I applied. I applied to two colleges. Well, three. One was like because I had like free application. So I was like,
Mm,
okay, to make my mom happy, I'll do that. And then the second was Penn State because even though it wasn't in the city, I had a feeling like, oh, maybe there's b-boys there. And then the third was like I wanted to go to Temple because it's Philly, and yeah, and just for the b-boys. That's about it.
yo.
And then it was funny too because when I went to Temple, I didn't know anybody except my brothers because my older brother went there too. Except my brother's friends, but they don't dance. So all I had to do was like I just joined like a shit ton of clubs and asked people. And
Mm,
then 2 weeks later, like I found out about the Temple B Boys, and then yeah, my first time dancing with actual B Boys, and I was like, yo, shit, that's sick. Let me get
that's
my phone.
crazy. Wow. So that's
Yeah,
some real hip hop stuff right there. You
I don't
decided to
know,
you
man.
chose your college based off of the breaking scene, and that's
Yeah,
awesome to hear. I mean,
I found it.
it
Yeah,
ended up working out. Look where you are now. Like,
yeah, I
so
don't know. If,
I was really curious because I didn't completely know that you had only um come to New York. Was New York the first place in the US that you guys moved to in 2005?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
2005.
So that means that you grew up for most of like your childhood in the Philippines, correct?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Whoa. So like what was how is that like compared to to moving to New York and like the US?
It was a big shift. Well, first off, because I didn't like we studied English in the Philippines.
Okay.
You know, it's I guess considered the second language, and but it's really different from like studying it and actually going to a country that speaks it and speaking it. So I wasn't really fluent, so that was hard. But also like the culture was just different. I remember we came here. No, we went there to New York, summertime, and coming from the Philippines, it's a hot country. It's a very warm country, and it was summertime in New York, but it was just me and my brothers going to play basketball in the park wearing hoodies, and everybody was wearing tank tops and everything. It was crazy. So yeah, it was a big shift. It was a big you had to adjust and everything. So, but it was cool.
Definitely. Do
So
you feel like your I'm sure it does somehow, but I want to talk about how you ended up from there, right? And tracing
mm,
that to come to the US and then going to Temple to now being where you are as a essentially you're working at the US embassy, right?
no,
Oh,
I
is that
work
incorrect?
at the UN.
UN. You work at the United
Yeah,
Nations.
yeah,
Oh,
but
snap.
like yeah, it's like a lower rank, so it's not like whoa UN,
Dude,
but it's
UN
like
is UN. What
yeah,
exactly
true,
so
true.
what exactly are you doing and how did you end up there?
Well, it actually connects because I'm, from Temple, and then I met a girl at Temple.
Oh.
There's quite of a love story. So
Is that
anyway,
where
yeah,
your last name comes from?
that's actually a good connection too. No, but that's not where it came from. Uh, so yeah, basically, I met this girl at Temple, and she's from here. She went to study abroad for like a year and a half or something, and then I met her like her first month there or something because her roommate was like a really really close friend of mine, uh, and they kind of just introduced us and we kicked it. Yeah, I tried it out, and then she stayed there for like another year looking for a job, but she couldn't find a job, so she came here. And after that, we tried like long distance. And it was working out. I was like focusing on my thing, she was focusing on her thing. And then after that, just kind of like decided like, yo, I'm gonna go there because she couldn't come here. Like she wanted on by here I mean like the U.S. So she couldn't go to the U.S.
Okay.
because she couldn't find a job. Like she wanted to stay in the U.S. with me, but she couldn't find a job.
I
So,
see.
if that didn't work, then I'll try my cards over here, and it kind of worked out. So then now I'm stuck here.
Is this
Yeah.
related to what you studied in school? What you're doing?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
No, not
what
at
are your
all.
responsibilities for the work? If
For the
it's
work,
disclosable.
yeah, it is. It's I work at the English department, and basically, what my job is, or the teams, like one of their main tasks is to proofread and make sure, like, everything is right, and like format the documents before they print it or like they publish it. So we're like the last line of defense, if you say, comes to translation, editing, and then us, which is like, okay, we read everything, see if there's any mistakes, correct it before we send it to publishing, kind of thing.
I see. H-
So yeah,
How is? Oh,
yeah.
sorry. Continue.
Go ahead, no, no, go ahead, no, no.
Okay. How is that? Are you a keen reader? Is reading something that you've done in the past? Like, do you read a lot of books or anything like that?
Nah, not until I came here, man. But here, like, yeah. So it was tough because I'm not really uh, I don't read much. I read, but not like that. So getting the job definitely helped me develop that skill. And yeah, but I had to take like tests, but mostly not reading tests, mostly like proofreading tests. So I had to read like paragraphs and then find the discrepancies of that, like the wrong grammars and punctuations, which is, I mean, if you went to college in, the US, English punctuations and grammar should be okay with you. So I took like two or three tests, and then I passed all three of them, and then I was given a chance. I got like a month contract. It's like a trial, and then did made sure I did well. And then now I'm like, uh, what do you call it? Like staff, like an actual staff now, like
Got you,
full
dude.
time contract. So it's pretty cool.
I see. That's crazy, man. Like, that's some. Well, first of all, that sounds like it's a pretty high barrier to entry because you had to take all these tests and then you
Yeah,
had to go on a trial, and that was
yeah.
finally when you got the job. And now then they asked you to move out to Europe. So like it's definitely a big jump, and props to
No,
doing all
yeah,
of that.
yeah,
Well, just like
yeah.
the requirement of having the job, it
Mm,
means you have to be away from family and home.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So like I guess I want to tie it back to that. But I'm curious because I know you've been dabbling with at least arts, right? And breaking
Hmm.
since college. I'm curious where graphic design came into that mix for you, and how does that tie into what you're doing now,
um, the
if it
graphic
does?
design, the graphic design thing. Uh, I think I can bring it back to like when I was a kid. In the Philippines, my dad used to paint signs. Like,
Mm.
like he would hand paint signs with
Oh,
like, I don't know, like if there's an event, he would like, like, I don't know
wow.
what it would say, but yeah, he would make the signs. Or if there's like a something on sale, or I don't know, something going on, he would paint the
You
signs, and
would
I would
write it.
watch him.
Wow.
Yeah, like, big signs, and he would like just hand paint things. And then that's how I got into lettering, because he would teach me how to like draw bubble letters. And since I was a kid, like I didn't know much about hip hop, but for some reason I knew about graffiti. So I've always wanted to do graffiti. But in the Philippines, or at least where I'm from, my hometown is like a very little town. It's not really, it doesn't exist there. So I've always wanted to do graffiti, but I couldn't. So when we moved to the U.S., I still had like that in mind. Like, oh, I want to do graffiti, but being an immigrant, my mom kind of drilled it to our heads that you can't do crime or else you get deported. And
Mm,
so I got scared. So I was like, okay, fuck, I'm not gonna do graffiti. So then I got into like Photoshop. Like I would just hand draw my shit and then put it on Photoshop. And then high school, I got into like drawing classes and things like that. And I guess that's what I wanted to do after that. Like it really, I think, like really thinking, sitting back and thinking about it, I think it's from watching my dad paint signs and then learning how to draw letters. and it just kind of snowballed or something. So
That makes
yeah.
sense. When did you start? Because I looked back, and it seems like it was only like within this last year or so that you
Mm-hmm.
began posting a lot more of your designs to Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you had some in the past when they're not public anymore. But
Mm-hmm.
what did you what did you do throughout college and up to this point to practice your skills? And yeah, what what were your biggest inspirations for that? Would you say?
Well, for learning, it's me and my older brother. I really took it seriously when like me and him tried to start a clothing line back in
Oh,
college or back in high school, really. Uh, Learned how to like screen print and all that. But then to screen print, you have to create your own graphics, right? And so we started doing that. We learned how to make graphics and print our own shirts. So I think that's how I really wanted to take it seriously. And for the posters thing that I do, um, I don't know. I used to just do like random, you know, I don't know. I just liked photoshopping. And then like a few years ago, I just decided I would like make like breaking posters because I would see like I remember as a kid I would have like basketball posters on my wall. My brother would have like basketball trading cards, and he would collect them. And I thought like, oh shit, what if I could do that but for breakers?
yeah.
And that's how I kind of started. And at first it was like for fun. I mean, it's still for fun now, but like at first it was just like, let's just see how it goes. Then I just take pictures of my friends and do it. And then after a while, I got bored and like, all right, I'm gonna do other people too. And then after a while, I was like, fuck, my picture sucks. I'll take Kian's pictures. So I just was stealing his photos, and I just after that, like it wasn't gaining traction when I was just doing my friends because nobody knows us. But then as soon as I started doing like the big name b boys, they would share it, and then that's how kind of just built traction. But other than that, it was just this like, yeah, I want to make posters, but I kind of like make it look like sports posters, but like with breakers. So that's the whole idea about it.
Yeah, dude,
So
I definitely see that in your work. Because that's something I don't think you were the only one who was thinking that could be a thing. We're just like, we have all these
I
people
bet, I'm
that we look up
sure.
to, and
Mm,
there could be like trading cards or posters, but that's all people did. They thought about it. But
yeah.
I feel like you were one of the first, well, not one of the first, because I mean that's not fair to say, because who knows. But you were one of the people
No.
who really went in and continued
Thank
to
you.
execute and continued to create it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you basically made the vision come true, and a lot of
Yeah.
people are seeing that.
Yeah.
When was the first time that you kind of got a gig to a notable gig, right? Because the thing I think about is freestyle session. Like you
Mm.
basically got asked to do posters
Yeah,
and
that was
work for one
cool.
of the biggest events, if not the biggest breaking event in the world, right?
Yeah, that
And
was
that was
amazing.
purely just through doing what you do. So can you walk us
Yeah.
through that experience?
Yeah. Um, Back in Temple, I used to make like flyers for one was for fun because I don't know, I enjoy it, and then the other one was like when we throw events like Temple B Boys, when we throw events, I would make the flyer, you know, and yeah, I just started doing that, and then I would do it for my friends when they have events, for free, and I just it was something to do when I'm not dancing. So basically, I would just do that, make some flyers. It was stupid. It sucked. I know it sucked. If I could see one, I hope I can. I don't know. I threw out. Well, my hard drive broke, so I
Oh,
can't access it.
oh,
Yeah, I know. But uh, yeah, so I just make them, just and then learn how to get better along the way. But then I think it got traction, or I got better when I asked Tyquan MZK. Shout out to him because when he started doing his bridge the gap conversation thing, I saw like he would just use Instagram to promote it. He would just post a picture on Instagram and then use like the Instagram text. So I hit him up. I was like, "Yo, I make flyers. Let me make flyers for you for free. Let me know what you need. When you need it, just let me know. I got you." And so I started making it for him. And I actually still have like the very first that I made for him, and I can see the difference from the first thing I made for him to like
Hey,
what I make now. It's pretty cool.
that's a great feeling, huh?
Yeah, it's cool. And then so then that, and then I also have like other friends make asking me to make flyers, and then that on top of the I guess the B-boy breaker posters that I make, kind of like I got asked. I guess also Tyquan, big ups to him because he's been like putting me on. He's been telling his friends about me. So like I got uh I don't know if it was him that asked that told but Massive Monkees, they hit me up like 2 years ago to make a flyer for them, and I think it was because of Tyquan. But yeah, so I gotta give him big ups, big shout outs to him.
Heck yeah! Shout out to
And then
Tyquan. Shout out to Keen also, right, for
oh
buying
yeah,
the photos. But also, yeah, we just had him on last week, so you guys make a great
yeah, I
team.
just listened to it too, so that shit is cool.
That's
Yeah,
great. But that's
and
amazing because shout outs to you too, because you were the one who put yourself in the door, right?
yeah,
You
true,
saw
true.
that there was a need, and you were like, "Yo, I
Mm,
have this skill.
yeah,
I'm gonna slide in real quick, and you know,
yeah,
I feel like I could provide a service." And just by doing that and offering your services for free to the right
yeah,
people,
yeah,
you
exactly.
entered a network, right? And
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and you just kept doing that. I'm sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that was cool, man. And then I don't know how Cross found out about me. I'm sure it's from like the posters that I've been making because one he just like kind of sent me a DM and I was like, oh shit, cool. Yeah, man, I'm down. And then he just hit me up. We agreed, that I would do it, and then that was that. So that was pretty cool.
Fire,
And
man. So
then
he approached you.
yeah, he hit me up on Instagram. He asked me. I forget from I don't know if it's from the FreeStyle Session account or from his personal account. I don't know, but he hit me up and I was like, I remember I was like cheesing that hard, like try to keep it cool
Oh,
down, respond. So, but yeah, that was the biggest event that I did, and that actually I learned a lot from that experience as well. So it's pretty
heck yeah,
cool. Yeah.
dude, that's amazing. And the first, I think this is just the beginning for you, honestly. Speaking from an
Ah
outside
man,
point
I
of
hope
view.
so, dude.
Yeah, man.
I
And the
hope so.
crazy part is that you're not even like in the same nation as us right now. Like you're
Ah
doing this all from a
yeah.
freaking like a different part of the world. Like it's a
Yeah.
testament to what can be done today. The fact that
Right.
we're doing this right now, that I'm talking to you,
Exactly.
right? Like
And yeah,
crazy.
and that's the beauty of it though, because like for the graphics, like I don't need to be face to face with someone. Yeah, everything is digital, and I can just send it digitally. So I guess that's the good thing about I guess being a graphic designer as well. So
Yes, sir.
I don't have to be anywhere. So
Exactly. Yo, that it's gonna pan out real well. It sounds like such a
hopefully,
strength. Okay, so I'm
yeah.
curious also about your journey because I'm sure it's not all like okay, this just happened and this just happened, right? Like it's easy to say that when you're looking back in hindsight because I think
Hmm.
our brains like to compress stories into things that are easily interpretable for us. But I
Hmm.
want you to think back on maybe some trials and tribulations you might have had. So my next question
Hmm.
is do you have a favorite failure? Do you have a specific failure in mind that kind of helped you grow? And that could be in design, that could be in breaking, in school, something that kind of really stuck with you. You're like, oh, like damn, like I really messed up, but you managed to come out better at the end of it.
A failure? I don't know, man. I fail a lot. So,
Right.
uh,
Yeah. So, dude,
so
take your pick.
yeah, I don't know. But there was this one because I really wanted to like work in like the breaking world. So I
Right.
hit up this one um, breaking company in Philly and asked if I can like either like perform with them because they do performances, or like create flyers or like Instagram whatever content for them. They said no, so but since then I was just like fuck, I want to get better until like until people would just come to me. So I guess that's one thing that's been really stuck to me, like just asking, like, yo, and actually met with the guy, and then, yeah, didn't work out. So,
Dude, but
which
do
is
you see
fine. Yeah,
right,
it's just, I'm cool. I'm close friends with them, but they just didn't need anybody at the time. And I was like, shh.
dude, it's a good driver, right? Because
Yeah,
what
yeah,
happened
yeah,
after they said
exactly.
no? It's like all right, I see how it is. Like, all right,
Yeah.
like come back to me in 2 years, right? Like, I'm going to. It's a great teacher, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
exactly.
it's humbling, and
Exactly.
then it drives you because then you feel like you have something to prove, which can be
Mm.
a great motivator.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think
of course.
that's a great example and a great story because everyone experiences this type of rejection throughout life.
Mm.
Like getting
Yeah.
out of school, I'm still unemployed. I definitely applied
Mm.
to a fair share of jobs, and
No.
you can see where I'm at right now. Like
Uh,
it happens, rejection
right, right.
happens, and what it does for me at least, obviously, it doesn't feel good. You spend all that time, and
Yeah.
you really gather up the courage to ask, and
Mm.
sometimes you're not gonna get the answer you want,
Yeah.
but that's just that's just failure telling you, right? It's almost the same as a battle. When you lose, right?
Mm.
There's something there that
Yeah.
will teach you to get better. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just a matter of interpreting it. And I think you've done a really good job at doing that as well.
Mm.
So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Thank
That's
you.
been really
No,
great.
thank you.
Yeah. I'm curious about your perspective as a designer and a breaker because you do
Mm-hmm.
both things
Mm-hmm.
and you continue to. And
Yeah.
I actually got to watching some of your footage finally. Like I've only seen here and
Mm.
there, right? When you post on Instagram stories, when you did your
Ah,
text
yeah,
giving
yeah.
and all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
right?
Ah, that was fun. Yeah,
Yeah, that was fun. Good job.
yeah.
And
Thank you.
I noticed that yeah, your style is very much engraved in footwork, like you said, right? Like being able to just
Mm-hmm.
enjoy and have fun.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know you
yeah.
really enjoy that. On top of that, being a designer, right, a graphic designer, and having two different
Mm-hmm.
disciplines, probably more. But
Yeah.
what do you think are some of the things that you've learned from breaking that you've taken into your other disciplines?
Oh, everything, bro. Everything. I'm sure like I was listening to the Ryan Porter and he said that I don't know if he's
Like the Ouroboros, right? Like everything is breaking and breaking is everything.
yeah, 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 exactly. So I just kind of applied what I learned from breaking to everything really. Like when I'm learning a new skill, I'm like, okay, to get better at this, I need to do what I did to get better at breaking, which is put in the time, learn and just like build the foundation really, like learn the basics and then build from there. And yeah, same with graphic design. I learned like, oh, what is a line? What is a pattern, shapes? How can you, lay out this framing, all that stuff. And yeah, like with photography as well, like I had to learn from the very beginning. I'm not really trained for photography. I just have like photographer friends that I ask.
Dude, I
So,
mean, yeah, I've seen your photos and I'm impressed by them. Good stuff.
thank
Keep
you.
going.
So yeah, but it's the same thing. Like I just look at it like breaking, or like, oh, I put time in this. If I put time in this, then I'll get better at it. And then when I see something like, oh shit, uh, this sucks. So what can I do to get better at this? So then I just like breaking, like, oh, my form sucks. So what can I do to get better at my form? Then work on it. And the same thing with like, you know, with graphics really. So yeah, just everything. Uh, with photography as well, and I did in Philly. I did street art actually.
Oh,
I did
really?
like graffiti. Yeah, like after I became a citizen, I was like, oh shit, I'm a citizen. I'm not gonna get deported anymore. Yeah.
Perfect.
So yeah, so
Okay.
I got some cans. I started doing graffiti. I learned like they have the Philly hand style, like these shirts.
Right.
A
Is it
friend
the
of
one
mine
that
made this.
is it the one that your
Yeah,
name is also written in?
yeah, yeah. Like in 2 or 3 years, like I was heavy into like graffiti and street art, and it was like an alter ego kind of like because nobody knew I did it, and then I would see like other b boys in the scene posting, like my work, and then they would know that it was me.
Oh.
So it's pretty cool. And then yeah, to get that, like I had to apply the same things breaking, like, oh, I need to learn the basics. I need to. I only did it for like 3 years, so my can control is not good. But same thing. Like I had to learn how to control the can, learn how to write the letters and all that stuff. So yeah, and then to get my name out, I had to like put the time in and like actually go out and paint. And well, my main thing was stickers because it was quick to put up and like you know I can make it at home. But I bombed too. I went out at night and painted at night too. And yeah, so yeah, with photography, street art, graphics, I approach it as breaking really.
I agree, and I hear that, and I asked this question because not only for those who are breakers who are listening, but anyone who has some sort of experience in one discipline, right?
Mm-hmm.
That first discipline or your most powerful one often serves as this framework of learning
Mm-hmm.
that you can apply to
Mm-hmm.
other things, right?
Right,
Once
right.
you properly learn something using your foundations and understand the concept of foundations, then that can be applied to other things as well. And I'm kind of going down the same pathway as you, right? In terms of taking breaking, right, and learning
Yeah.
other things. For example, trying to learn design. I've been doing a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that while I'm here. Trying to understand these different principles and like pattern and all of these things, and
Mm-hmm.
now I'm trying to figure out how to apply these foundations and work on them individually, or make sure that I have
Mm-hmm.
them down. And it's
Right.
like part, right? Like it's not completely transferable, but the framework is there,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and the
yeah,
drive to improve is there because
yeah,
you have this confidence now.
yeah.
So another thing I wanted to ask you about is
Can I ask you a question real quick though?
yes, please.
Uh, for you, like, because you have a lot of disciplines as well. Was it breaking first? Like, let's say for film, was it breaking first and then film, or was it like, yeah?
Yes, for
So,
me it was
like, I
breaking
guess.
first. And was there more to your question?
So, so would breaking also be your strongest skill, and then you would base, like, do you also base everything through breaking, or?
I would say so. Yeah, I think because breaking was the first thing that I actually, well, there was taekwondo, but that was when I was a
Ah, okay,
child,
okay.
and I didn't understand the concept of foundations back then. So I just kind
Mm,
of like learned
mm,
to learn. But
yeah, yeah.
when I got into college, that's when I really got serious about learning to break.
Mm,
And
right, right,
so
right.
when I went there, I was like, all right, what are foundations, and
Yeah.
what do I need to improve, right? And like, all right, power moves. Um, seems like that is a foundational category. So if I just work on power moves, then everything else will improve around that. Hopefully, like
Mm,
I'll have that foundation to work off of long
yeah,
term.
yeah.
So that came first, and then at the same time, when I got into college, I started learning filmmaking, and I
Mm,
learned about that. I'm still learning how to conceptually learn at this point, but I'm like, okay, so there's like the scripts, and when within the scripts, instead of just looking at it like, okay, you have to write a script, it's like, all right, so
mm,
there's a plot, right? There's a story, and within that
mm,
story, there's plot points. So there's like the character, there's a character's need, and then the complication, right? Like most stories have this arc, and
yeah.
so when you can start to break down these different techniques into pieces, I think it starts to become a little bit more digestible to learn.
Mm, mm,
But it's not. It's there's still like these little nuances in each skill,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
something I wanted to ask you about design. Right? Is
Mm-hmm.
like learning this, and I think there's a similar feeling to those who have to kind of create a piece before they ship it, right? And it's the idea of being when is something ready to ship, right? Because I definitely feel that as trying to
Mm,
make a thumbnail or a piece, and I'm like, all right, like this does not look good, and I could spend as long as I want. Like I spent 24 hours on this, and I still might not be ready to just hit send, right?
mm,
So you're always creating these things at scale. You're making a lot of work in what seems like a short amount of time to us. Like we don't know how much work you're putting in, but
mm.
how is your process for? And this is kind of combining a question that Izzy and Terrence asked you. So shout out to Izzy. I'm not sure if you've met Izzy before. Izzy Dallas. He's from Long Beach.
No,
You'll meet him at some point. He's
I
a dope guy.
don't.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's a mutual
hopefully,
friend.
yeah, yeah,
He's a
yeah.
mutual friend. But
Ah, that's dope. Yeah, yeah.
Izzy and also Terrence, my friend from Santa Barbara. He asked, how do
Mm-hmm.
you decide if a design is good, and what's your creative process, and how do you approach each project like you do? So, compressing that, right? Um, how do you go about when you have an idea, and how do you know when you're ready to let it go and to send it out for your
Ah,
personal projects? Because it has
yeah,
because
yeah,
these don't have any deadline, right? It's like
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. For the personal projects, well, for most of them, really, um, it starts with a photo, right? Because I have a subject. I have like the B boys with the B girls. So for me, for those posters, I require or I look for like a high quality image, and I just really like mask them out, like take them out of the background and then just play around. If they're making like I don't know, a face and it reminds me of something, then I try to like, I don't know, like the facial expressions is important as well because it gives the poster like an emotion, or like it's hard to make something look good if it doesn't already look good. Like I've had like friends uh, or like just people really like do commissions, because when I first moved here, I didn't have a job, so I was like running on fumes. So I kind of like, all right, I'll do commissions. So then they would ask me like, yo, I really like this edit. Can you do this one for me? Similar, you know? Like, all right, cool. But then they would send me something that like the photo I don't like. And if I don't like the photo, if I don't see like the emotion in there, or like, I don't know, if I don't feel it, it's really hard to edit. Like, I dread it. Like, but then I'm like, okay, they already paid me, so I have to do it. But for the most part, it starts with the photo. And if I feel like if the subject reminds me of something, then I work around it. So yeah, um, yeah, I guess that would be my answer.
That makes sense. How do you decide? How are you ready to let it go? How are you ready to
To let
like, all right,
go. Actually, that's hard because sometimes I'm sitting on the design for like days or weeks
crazy.
because I'm not happy, and sometimes like I have some where I would do it and I'm like, okay, I'll sleep on this, right? And then like a day or a few days later, I look at it, I'm like, ah, nah. So I scrap everything. Sometimes it sits for like a week or two, and then I'm like, I'm not feeling it.
Oh
I don't
shit.
like it. Yeah, so I just delete it. And that's why, like, especially now, because like, when I started, I didn't, like, I just do whatever, you know? And then, like, if you scroll down on my Instagram, you can see, like, the same design style done, like, six, seven, nine, multiple times because I liked it. But then it got to a point where, like, if I do something three or four times, like the same layout or the same, concept. If I do something three or four times, I get bored at it. And like when I figure it out, like, oh shit, this it looks good when I put it here, when I add this effect. I get bored at it, so I stop. And then like right now, I haven't been posting much because I can't think of a new concept or like a new design idea. So I would like start something. I have like three or four people actually that I took pictures of before the COVID thing happened, and I told them I would make them posters like for fun, they're my friends over here. And like, but I want to try something new. I want to like, not use the same layouts that I did before or the same effects. So I've been just playing around with it, and it's been like a few weeks, and I just can't figure it out. So I haven't been doing anything. So it just really just comes and goes, man. And it's personal, so I don't have a deadline. So yeah, just whatever. I just do it, and then if I don't like it, I sit on it, and if I really don't like it, then I start over. So, and then for the ones I put out, it's you just like when I'm happy with it, I just sometimes I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I think a lot of artists are, but sometimes I'm just like after 2 or 3 days of sitting on it, and I do like it, right? I just put it out, and then I mean, of course, like a few days later, I look at it and like, oh shit, this could have been here. But yeah, you just kind of have to just let go and just move on to the next project. So, and it's just all for fun, really. Like it's just like a serious hobby. Like there's no pressure on me, at least. There's no pressure. And like if people like it, fuck it, I don't care. If they don't, or if they don't like it, I don't care. But if they do, then yeah, it's good. So there's really no pressure on me. So I just get to do whatever. So yeah.
I noticed that running through like your past posts and just like stuff that I think it seems like a pretty big value to you, the idea that whatever you're doing, that you're enjoying it, you're having fun,
Yeah. Oh
and
man,
right,
definitely.
and that even
Definitely.
even though improvement is like very very integral to you and you want to improve,
Hmm.
right? Like everything you do, um, it resonates stronger to
Yeah.
you
Yeah. Yeah.
when you're having fun doing it, right? So
Yeah.
do you feel like that changes, or that you have to? How do you start to make sure you're still having fun And do, do you have any issues with that when you have to work for a client or when you have to do something that um that you have to do a job isn't your own
Hmm.
personal project, right? For
Yeah.
example, the freestyle session series.
Yeah.
So how would you go
That one I
about
enjoy.
navigating that?
I enjoy that one a lot. Well, uh, I enjoy graphic designing, and I really want to work in that field in the future, you know. But there are times when I'm just like, oh man, this is not fun, especially working with a client that is, you know, so many demands and so many changes. Which, like at first, I would enjoy it, but then, oh, he changed this here, blah blah blah, and I'll send it, and they'll ask for more changes. It doesn't get, it gets irritating at times, but for the most part, it's fun. Like the freestyle session one, I enjoyed it a lot. Like I did so much. It was just supposed to be a regular poster, but then I thought to myself, well, like thousands of people are going to see this. So I hit up Cross. I was like, yo, can I like do my thing? Like do whatever, And then, and the cool thing about it is Cross was just like open for everything. All he asked was like, just the colors. Like I just want, the freestyle session, like the original colors, I guess the blue and the purple. And I was like, all right, cool. So I just cooked up something, and he said, all right, I'm down. It's the colors. And then like a few days before he asked for like the final designs, I was laying on my bed and I thought, a lot of people are going to see this. I think I should do it, like take it to the next level. And so at that time, I was learning animation. And so that's when I
Right.
thought to myself, I'm going to ask Cross if I can just like add something into it to make it different, to take it to the next level, kind of. And he was down for it, man. And I was like, all right, cool. So then I added the animation with the lightnings and all that stuff. Yeah, it was dope. So I enjoyed that a lot. And then because it was new, like every time he would ask, like, fuck, I think I did like 20 plus. He had like so many judges and DJs and guests and
Yeah, man,
crews.
did a lot.
Yeah. So and it was fun. Like I enjoyed it because it was a new experience and it was something that I really like to do. And he didn't ask for any changes at all. Like whatever came to my head, I just like, fuck it, and he would just accept it as it is. So it was cool working with him. So yeah, I like that a
That's
lot.
awesome to
When I
hear.
get to
That's
do
great.
when I get to do what I want, you know, it's cool. But when people are like, I mean, I don't mind making the changes, but most of the time they would ask the changes, and then I would do like three, four, five revisions, and then they were like, okay, the first one was the best, and I'm just like, oh man, you know, all that
Right.
time. So
That sounds like a very common client like struggle.
yeah,
Just like, oh yeah, you
yeah,
gotta change this, and then after maybe 10 revisions, they're like,
yeah,
the first one is better, and then you're just like,
yeah.
okay, yeah,
But it's
right,
also understandable. After working with a few of them, it's also understandable because they don't like they want to see the variations of it, and then in my head, like I can see what they want me to like. I can see the changes that they're asking for isn't good, but they can't see it. You know, so I kind of understand that even if I don't think it's good, they're gonna want to see it still because they don't see what I see in my head.
right.
Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a very good point you bring up because
Yeah.
I think that's a good skill to have and understand as someone providing a service, right? Because
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
you allow that type of mentality to get in your way and
Mm,
actually make you not like the process anymore. But
yeah.
the way you interpret it is very, very helpful because you're like, yo,
Mm,
like I'm providing a service and I need my job and my ability is to be able to see what is better
mm,
for the client. They
yeah.
can't see that. That's why they hired me, right? So
Yeah.
that means it is almost my duty to show them why it's not the right choice. So
Yeah.
it's a part of the job, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so if they ask for revisions to see other different, variations of the work, then yeah, why not? But I want to say like not all the time, but majority of the time, they usually say, okay, your version is, we'll go with your like the first version. And I'm just like, all right, cool. But yeah,
That's important. That was very helpful to hear that insight because looking into what created your best work, right? It's Cross allowed you to he gave you a few confines, right? Like follow the colors, and then he's like, all right, I trust your vision. And
Mm,
I think that's something that I've heard a lot of the best teams do is
mm-hmm,
they make sure that their people are just being their best selves.
mm,
So that's something I think that's very valuable advice and insight for anybody who's looking to work with somebody or to hire
mm.
somebody. Um, Something I wanted to ask you, which is a little bit of a tangent, but
Go for it.
curious about your more of your personal interest in how they influence your work, right? So
Mm,
I have a few in mind, but
yeah.
what is something absurd that you love that people might not know about?
Absurd?
Yeah, just like
I don't
things
know.
that people wouldn't that aren't super common, right? Something about you where you're like, oh yeah, I really like this, and I don't know why, but I just really really enjoy it.
I don't know. Right now, I've been listening to a lot of because I'm trying to get back in touch with like my Filipino side. I've been listening to a lot of like Philippine like OPM, original Pinoy music.
Oh,
So it's like Filipino music. So I've been listening to a lot of that in like in Tagalog and in my dialect as well. So that's what I've been into. Like if you look at my Spotify, I have like playlist that I just like made up. But yeah, other than that, I like video games. I'm huge with Final Fantasy X because
yeah, I
just
noticed that.
childhood experiences. It was like my only game growing up. So my memories. I like it for like just to reminisce really.
Oh, okay. I noticed that because
And
I think throughout your timeline that's been consistent. There's always been these
yeah, yeah,
screenshots of Final Fantasy X
yeah,
specifically, like this game. And you'll even reply to
yeah,
comments with quotes from the game. I'm like, holy
yeah.
crap, this guy like knows the whole freaking dialogue. It's crazy.
One summer, because my mom was in the U.S. and then we were in the Philippines, and then one summer she sent us video games, PlayStation 2 and video games, and then like one for each of us for my siblings, and then I got Final Fantasy X.
Mm.
And then every morning, early morning, we would wake up, me and my brother, and I would play the video game, and my brother, since he's older and he understands English, he would read the strategy guide, and he was like that for throughout the whole summer, so that that game is dear to me because of that memory. And then recently, a few years ago, I found it on Steam, and so I replayed it. And then what I did was I took a screenshot of every single dialogue. I had like thousands and thousands of screenshots, dude. So then, yeah, so then I would just make memes out of it. I
Oh
would
my
post it,
god.
and then there's a whole, I think like a good 2 or 3 weeks where every conversation on Facebook that I have, I would just answer with like a screenshot of Final Fantasy X,
Oh my gosh.
and I had like the whole cutscenes, all the dialogues, everything. I had like thousands and thousands of screenshots.
Bro.
So that's how I kind of knew it. So
That's so good. Dang. That's so
yeah,
funny. That takes some commitment on a level. Like,
bro,
dude, thousands of
yeah,
screenshots, and then that's
yeah,
great. What do you think made you want to do that? Like, what were you just like this might be funny, or like what were you
yeah.
thinking?
That was it. It was just well, I replayed it for the memories, but also I just wanted to do something stupid and funny. So, and then with the laptop, you can just screenshot. You like one button to screenshot everything, and then you have memories for days. So screenshot. I just watched it. The cutscene and screenshot every letter. So yeah.
Incredible, man. There you go, you guys. That is an actionable tool that Don just shared with you. The screenshot feature on your computer.
Yes.
I use that. Speaking of which, I think now might be a good time to look at these. I pulled up a few memories, and I kind of wanted you to just like
Mm.
walk us through them. Since we have the
Okay, go
screen
for
share
it.
feature on Zoom,
Ah, yeah.
uh, I'm gonna use this. Sorry if you're on audio, but if you would like to watch on YouTube, you can. If I'll try my best to describe what's happening in these pictures. But basically, I have a few pictures, right? So there's this. I'm not sure if you can see it. Can you see this?
Uh,
Maybe not.
no, but I can see the little thumbnail, and it's the hat, and I
Okay.
know what it is.
You know it is. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
I don't have to enlarge it. What is this, and can you tell us the story behind it?
that is. Remember, I told you I joined a lot of clubs in
Yes.
Temple. One of them is Tupac,
Right.
and not the
What does
West
Tupac
Coast
stand for?
rapper. Tupac stands for Temple University Philippine American Council.
Mm.
and I was one of the design team, and I designed the little logo that they use for I don't know how many years, which is pretty cool. They just changed it recently. Yeah, that's it with the sun. It's the Philippine flag sun and stars, and I just
There it
kind
is.
of added like a little twirl, red and blue for the red and blue stripes.
Nice.
And yeah, so that is a logo that I designed for them. Uh, yeah, and then they used it, put it on T-shirts and hats, and they ran with it for a few years. Actually, it was pretty cool.
That's cool,
Like
dude.
even after I left, yeah, even after I left Temple, they were still using it until I think last year or 2 years ago they changed it.
Okay.
So yeah, it was pretty
It
cool.
lasted a while, right? Yeah, using your gifts
Yeah,
for good, bro. Okay.
I
This
was
picture.
bored too.
I want you to run me through the memory of this picture. This was really
Memory
impressive
of
to
that.
me.
Thank you, bro. That one is in New York. I think it's the top of the rock. I don't know, is it the Rockefeller
Yeah,
building
that's a pretty
on
tall
the
building.
top? Yeah, I think it's called the Top of the Rock building. It was a date with my girlfriend.
Oh.
She had just visited me. This was like we were already long distance, and
Mm,
she went there to visit me, and then we stayed in New York for a few days. And I think that's the Top of the Rock. And I just kind of took the flick. I liked it. I was getting
got
into
you.
like kind of like a little bit of landscape stuff.
Yeah, bro. I was
Yeah.
really impressed when I saw this because you can really see your skill of composition. The
Thank you.
picture, it cuts right down the middle,
Hmm.
diagonally with the
Yeah,
glass,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then you just see the skyscrapers at an angle. And these values and colors are like all really vivid. I like the green. I think you brought the greens up or something. I don't know, but it looks. I like how
Yeah, I don't know what I
rainbowish
did. That was a
everything
while
looks.
ago.
It's
Yeah, I
cool.
think I just bumped up
This
all
one.
the colors.
What was happening here?
Ah, that's my crew, man. I love those dudes.
Hey.
Those are the guys. These are the first people. Remember, I told you 2010 I went to Temple. The guy on the
Yes.
left, he's one of the first guys to practice with. The first two guys on the left,
Okay.
yeah, they're the first two people that I practiced with, like the actual b-boys that I saw, and I was like, fuck, these guys are dope, man. And yeah, that's my crew, Dirty Dozen. Uh, and I think that's in DC. It was just a trip that we took for a jam, I think, and we just walked around. Yeah,
Nice.
that's about
Nice.
it.
You guys traveled a
Love
little bit
those
together.
dudes. Yeah,
Heck
a
yeah.
little college fun, you know what I mean? Just go to different states and that
Nice. What about this one?
one.
This is a picture of Don stretching with people behind him.
Yeah, that one was. Oh, I'm wearing the hat that you showed.
Hey.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That one was a workshop that I taught for Temple. Uh, yeah,
Was that
Temple
your first teaching
B-boys.
experience?
I think that was like
For breaking?
my only teaching experience,
Oh.
like actual workshop. This was a bit before I left actually. I was making a little bit of noise in Philly, and they before I left to come here, they asked me, and I think I did
Uh,
two workshops for them. So that was a good
dope, man.
experience. So yeah.
Yeah, you were getting a few invites for battles too, huh?
Yeah, because before coming here, I was like, I really wanted to make a stamp. It wasn't much of a noise, but I made a little bit to get invited
There
to
you
like
go,
a
man.
few exhibitions in the East, not even the East Coast, just like Jersey, New York, Virginia. No, not New York, Philly, Jersey, and Virginia area. So yeah, not much. So and then I
It's dope
left, and
though,
then I kind of like fuck it.
for sure.
Yeah,
How has that been for you? Because I know like I'm curious how it feels to just be in a completely different country and like away from your family and like where like your friends. But
mm,
it seems like you've been making it over there. Like you've been doing your thing. But what's it like? Because that's not an experience everyone gets to really feel. Just working
yeah,
abroad on their own.
right. It's tough. As I said earlier, like the first few months, I didn't have a job. Like the first 8 months, I worked as an intern with no pay, and yeah, it was tough. I didn't have money. I have like my little savings and like the little side gigs that I did, and other than that, it was tough. And they speak French here, so At the
Oh,
time, like right now, I've been taking French classes so I can kind of hang, but back then it's tough. So I can't even talk to anybody. Uh, I had like friends that are, breakers. That's about it. And yeah, it was tough coming to a country. I don't know the culture, the language, no money. So it was tough. But I hung in there. My girl was here too, so she was cool. Uh, I had I'm not completely alone. I have somebody, so it's pretty cool.
nice.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
good. For sure. Yeah. I mean, that's just like props to you for really going out on that limb.
yeah,
And
man.
it was almost sink or swim, right? Because you came
Yeah,
just a little bit in the pocket and you just had to figure it out.
yeah.
Right. So I
So
guess
that was
speaking on
tough.
that, right. So I think that that is something that we could look more into. But what do you think are some of the most valuable lessons you learned from moving out there?
Just I don't know, I'm working on it right now, like just to be um not care so much in terms of like learning a new language uh, because I get so self-conscious when I'm trying to practice speaking French, and I end up not speaking French, especially with my French-speaking people, my French-speaking friends out here, and yeah, just to not care and just practice. Don't think about by not care I mean like don't think about what other people think about you, kind of thing. Just let go of that, whatever. If you look stupid, then you look stupid. As you say, you sink or swim, so just keep
Definitely.
swimming. Yeah.
Just keep swimming.
Dory. Just
Yes.
hey, what up, Dory?
I
Shout out
like
to
it.
you,
That's
Dory.
that's good. I definitely feel that. Definitely not as big as a jump, right? Because I wasn't going for work, but I studied
Mhm.
abroad in Shanghai for four
Fresh,
months.
really.
Yeah, when I was in my
Dope.
junior year of college, and I remember that feeling because my Chinese
Were
sucks.
you sorry? Were you there for college or just?
Yeah, I was there for studying abroad, so I was there
Okay,
for like
okay.
one semester. That's
Do
actually
you
where I met
speak
my
the
girlfriend.
language?
Barely, bro. Like I
Ah,
had really, really bad Chinese and it improved the most while I was in Shanghai.
okay.
Not
Oh
easily,
wait.
but because I had to.
Right, right, exactly. Same as me. You said you met your girlfriend there?
Yeah.
Dope. And you're also in long distance, yeah? Long
Yes, I
distance
am.
relationship?
Yes.
How's that going?
It's great, dude. I don't
Yeah,
know how
yeah.
we're doing it, but I guess we're just to the right people who are
Mm,
compatible over this medium. Because I don't know,
yeah.
it was interesting, but it started over it didn't start as a relationship, and the last thing we wanted to do was get in a relationship. Because how dumb
I
does that
feel
sound,
that.
right? Like,
Yeah, I
why
feel
would I
that.
want to get in a relationship when
Bro,
I
I
have
feel
to
that.
leave and you have to be on the other side of the world? Yeah, you feel that, right? So we can talk more about that later. It's a thing, but
Okay.
I'm proud of us, and I'm sure
Yeah,
it's
that's
something that you
dope.
can
I'm
really
happy
relate
for
to.
you. I'm happy for you, man.
Thank
That's
you, bro. I
rare.
appreciate you. I have a few more questions for you, and we can close
Okay,
it out.
go for it.
But okay, what do you think is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made? And that could be either money, like investing in something like money wise, or even time or energy.
Yeah. Well, money wise, not much. I don't have much money. So I would say, I mean, money wise, just buying art supplies. When I was in Philly, I was working like a low paying job, and then whatever extra I had, I would buy paint and canvases. And yeah, and that was actually one of the best memories I have, just painting, going out to abandoned buildings with my friends, painting, and also like painting canvases, selling it to people. Um, yeah, I guess that like for money wise, just spending it on the things that I wanted to do.
Hell yeah.
Time wise, time spent with my girlfriend and with the hobbies that I'm into. And what was the third one? Money, time,
There's
and
energy. Yeah, you don't have to go all of them,
energy.
but if you can think
Ah,
of
yeah,
something,
yeah,
then
yeah. Energy, yeah, it's the same thing. Just family and whatever you love, really. Just uh, invest in yourself. I'm sure I'm not the only one who says this. It's
it's
invest
important.
in yourself. Whatever, exactly. Whatever you enjoy doing, whatever extra money you have, put it on that, man. And if you're balling, then you can invest in other things like businesses and stuff. But I don't have that much money, so
Right, exactly.
yeah, self
It's
invest in yourself first, and then for the time, your loved ones. That's it.
there you go. Yeah. I
Yeah.
always questioned growing up because I know a lot of people like our age or younger, they look towards like like saving so they could buy a car, like a really nice car, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
there's always the advice like, don't do that. And it's like, but why not? Like,
Mm,
why not if you can, right? But
yeah.
it's like the idea that it's almost like investing, right? Or putting your money into something like a thing
Mm,
that is that going to bring you more value over time,
mm-hmm.
right?
Right,
And
right.
so it's like when you're thinking about like buying a nice car, like it's cool, right? But at the same
Right.
time, what if you use all the money to invest in yourself? And that sounds corny. It's like why would you do that? But think about it. When you're investing in yourself, it's almost like the idea of buying a giant, like buying fish versus buying a fishing rod, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
can you
Okay, yeah,
you
yeah.
want to buy the product now, spend all your money on the product, or do you want to invest and put that money into something that can help you exponentiate the process, right? So that later
Mm.
on you'll be set, right? And that's
Yeah,
definitely something that self investment comes in. These skills that you
right,
have, they are going to serve you for the rest of your life,
right, right, right.
and it's going to turn out.
But I think it also depends on the person, though. Different dreams, I guess, different, I
That's
mean, if
true.
you want to invest your money on a nice car, then if that's what you really want, then I'm okay with that too. I don't know,
That's true. No,
whatever.
that's a good point. Everybody has different goals in life,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
no judgment on those. But for those
yeah.
who want more out of life, I
Mm,
guess, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
if that more hasn't been defined, because that more could be a car, right?
yeah, yeah.
Like, you might your goal might to be to get a certain car, like in a certain age. So that is a good goal, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, yeah, that's good to hear. I'm glad I got to get your opinions of that because I definitely
Mm.
agree about that. Here's a question from our boy Ryan Lucy.
Hi.
Shout out to Ryan.
Yeah. Oh man, that guy's the best.
He's great. I love how you guys got to meet when he went to go visit. But if you guys
Yeah,
haven't checked out Ryan's episode, go check it out. It's good.
yeah, dude is dope. So much insight. This guy is wise beyond his years.
I
Guys,
agree.
so he came here and visited me, and we hung out for like a few days, and it was dope. It inspired me so much. So yeah, the
Heck yeah.
guy's awesome.
Heck yeah.
Shout out to
So
him.
he wanted to ask you, how do you stay motivated? And what habits or methods do you incorporate to stay on top of your game? And
That's a good one.
and also on the opposite end, what do you like to do when you feel like you're falling off?
For the habits, uh, and to stay motivated. A few years ago, before I started doing the graphics seriously, like the posters, I was already doing Photoshop and stuff like that, taking pictures. But then my friend is in the crew. If you look at the photo, he's I think the third guy in. His name is James, goes by Whiskey. He wanted to be a writer, right?
Okay.
And so he gave me. He kind of created a challenge for the two of us to do because he knew that I was into graphics and photography and all that, but I really didn't have a goal at it at the time. So he gave me a challenge. The two of us, we would do something every day for 100 days. And
Mm,
we called it, I don't know, 100 word challenge or something, whatever. It doesn't have to be a piece. It can be like just a dot on the paper or a line on the paper, or it could be a whole piece. You could spend like 6 hours on it if you have the time, as long as you do something every day for 100 days, right? That was the whole premise of his challenge I don't know if he made it up, but he told me about it and I was like, hell yeah, I'm down. And that's when it started. Like, there are days where I would just wake up and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do anything, but I had to at least draw a line. And then once you sit down and draw that line, you think to yourself, or I thought to myself, I'm already sitting down. My Photoshop is open or my sketchbook is open. I might as well do something more than a line. There are days where I just draw a line, but most, like 9 out of 10 times, I do more than a line, when I'm feeling off. Uh, so that kind of like after 100 days, there are days where I put up like an actual piece and I post it on Instagram or whatever, or I didn't like it, I slept on it. And there are days where I just drew a line. But after that 100 days, I got into the groove of just like doing it every day. And it kind of continued. The two of us kind of continued. Like he would write something, either if it's like a thought, or he would write a whole poem, or if he would write a whole short story, and he would send it to me, and I would send him my pieces. We just kind of like send it to each other. And then there are days where he would just send me nothing because he didn't write anything, but he just wrote like a word or something, And there are days I don't send him anything, but I assured him I drew a line today.
Nice.
So,
Keeping it
and
consistent.
then yeah, exactly. And then after 100 days, I was like, why would he stop now? So we just kind of kept going. Yeah. And then I think it changed from back then to now because now I'm just like, if I don't feel like doing anything, I just don't do it. So, but I think I need to get back into that challenge as well. So,
Dude, you
but
completed the 100-day challenge?
yeah, and we went like I think
Nice.
a year of doing it, or
Wow.
2 years, I think. I don't know, but we just kind of, you just wake up and you just like, you set very small goals that whatever you do, you're gonna achieve it. So we just wake up, oh, I don't want to do anything, open the book, line. Boom. But then nine out of 10 times, you're like, fuck, it's already open. Let me just draw something, or let me just,
Mm,
Photoshop something. So I have like little things where, like files in my laptop where it's nothing. It's just like a shape, a triangle, or like a random thing, you know. But
but it's
the
something.
point was to do something, yeah, as little as a dot, like a little dot, as long as you did something that day, and that's how you kind of like get into the groove of things. So
Definitely,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Establishing those habits, right? And
yeah,
there's a really big point in that. That is some pretty golden advice as well, which is just to start, right? That's the
mm,
hardest. That can often be the hardest part. Like
yeah, yeah,
we
yeah,
always psych ourselves out with these projects, right? Like it's
yeah,
like, oh,
exactly,
it's so intimidating, like this big thing. Even
yeah,
if it's like I got to post today, it's got to be good enough. And I don't
mm,
even want to start because it just seems so
exactly,
humongous. But
yeah,
if you can just put that first dot down,
exactly,
something happens. There's something in your
yeah,
brain that just, and then it's not
mm,
as hard as you think, right?
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, if you set a goal like, oh, I have to do a poster a day, it gets dreadful after a while. But if it's just a line, like, oh, it's just a line, I can do that. But then that line can turn into a piece. So it's pretty cool.
Exactly. Great advice. Thank you for that. Um, so I guess that does kind of answer the question, right? The habits would be kind
Hmm.
of trying to stay consistent. And
Hmm.
then what do you like to do when you feel like you're falling off? Is that also just put that dot down, or is there
Ah,
anything else you like to do when you really feel like you're in a rut?
oh man, right now because of the quarantine, I'm feeling that a lot, dude. But I don't know. I just sit down and write. I've been writing a lot. Not really like, and I'm not a writer. I just been writing thoughts. I don't know. Like when I don't feel like doing graphics, I just sit down and write. Like the other day, I couldn't sleep. It was like 7 in the morning, and I just like, fuck it, all right. Guys, just thoughts. I don't know, ideas. I don't know what it was. Just gibberish, whatever. If you, I just wrote, just write. So that would be my advice, I guess. If you can't draw, write your thoughts. So
Heck yeah.
maybe one day you can read those thoughts and then you're like, oh shit, this is giving me ideas, and then you can draw or paint or whatever.
For
I
real.
don't know.
Yes.
So,
No, I agree. I think that's a really powerful thing you can do. In fact, I have in front of me right here, like it's my journal, and
mm,
I write a lot of stuff in it. And I actually gave him some very similar advice last night because he asked me a question about, I forgot what he asked me about. It might have been about journaling or about like habit setting, but I let him know like if you want to start journaling, just start simple, right? Almost like the same idea as a diet.
mm-hmm,
I barely have any structure to my journal, but the two
mm-hmm,
most important things are keep it consistent, right, and keep it simple. So,
mm.
like what I like to do at the beginning of every day in the morning is I take my journal and I write 3 things I'm grateful for, 3 different
That's
things.
awesome. I need to do that. Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
helps. It helps a lot. It's a
Mhm.
mental preparation. Um, there's a
That's
quote I
dope,
just
dude.
yeah. It's like the first hour of the morning is the rudder of the day, is a quote by
Ah, that's so
Henry Ward
awesome.
Beecher. And right, so if you can
Yeah,
prime your morning by
yeah.
listing these things down and kind of putting your mental space in the right place, it
You
can
know
really
what I
help.
did? There was a few years in Philly where I was like down, like I was depressed kind of. And then to get out of that, it's not at the beginning, it's at the end of the day. I would write, and I would write down things that made me smile that day. There's things that made me appreciate life or something, you know? Like this little thing is like, oh, I talked to this guy in a wheelchair and that made me smile, you know? Oh, I saw this kid, you know, just dancing. And that kind of like just little things that made me smile. I would like write it down at the end of the day. And that helped me, man. Like it got me out of like that mentality of like being just down. So yeah, that's
Dude,
interesting that you said
that's
that.
great. No, that's
Yeah.
I like that as well. That actually makes it more specific because sometimes
Mm,
I can't think of exactly what makes me grateful. But if I can think of what
hmm.
made me smile, it's like, oh yeah, like talking with Don
Yeah.
today made me smile like a lot. So I can
Ah, thank
definitely
you,
write that
man. Me
down, right?
too. You
Just
made me
yeah,
smile too,
bro.
man. So
Appreciate you. And
yeah,
I'm sure we're going to
it's
help a lot of
cool.
people today. So
Ah,
it
that's
is
dope.
really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there's another guest question. So
Hmm.
I don't know if you know this guy, but he asked you quite a few questions, which I try to integrate into most of what we asked today. But he also asked, and this is by Eric Husen. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but
Ah, yeah, 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 yeah.
okay. So he
I don't know
asks,
what it is. I think that's just a Instagram name. Sorry, I forgot his name.
it's okay.
He's
He seems to really look up to you. So
yeah.
he asks you, who are your inspirations for dance, design, and photography?
Mm, for dance, uh, I really come from the suburbs with no knowledge of hip hop at the time. Uh, the first people that I saw was the Jabberwockies, so they definitely inspired me. But as soon as I went to Philly, um, the guy that I looked up to the most was Uki. I don't know if you know Uki.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. Man, I went to my first jam and um, he won the footwork and the 2 and 2 in the same
Damn.
jam. Yeah, and I was like, fuck, this guy's dope. And on top of that, he was dope footwork, and I was like into footwork. So yeah, and then we became friends. We became really close friends. He helped me out a little bit. Just we would just practice. He didn't mentor me, but we practiced together, so I got to see him how he practiced and everything. So I would say him, like my biggest inspiration in dance is him and my crew because they helped me out. Like they're the first b-boys that I actually met. So yeah. And then for photography, um, I don't have I don't really look at photographers because it's just like a little thing that I do on the side. You know,
Yeah.
Kian, definitely Germ, like my friends that taught me. Yeah, and that's about
Nice.
it.
Shout
I
out to
don't really
Germ.
look up. Yeah, shout out to Germ, man. It's amazing. He's a good dude. And then for graphics, I don't know. I don't really know any graphic designers. I should though, but I just kind of like I don't know.
It's pretty
There's this one
impressive.
guy.
Oh, okay.
There's this
You
one
continue.
guy. I forget his name, but he has a YouTube channel
What's
called
his?
Future. The Future.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Let's find his name. He's an
Asian
Asian dude,
dude.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's cool. I
Um.
like him a lot. I like his
Okay.
stuff. He
Yeah.
wears glasses and he has a
Yeah.
hat.
He's the face of the future, but his name isn't
Mm.
anywhere. Come on, man. Okay. You know what? We'll find it later. Hey guys. So it's currently later, and the name of the guy we were looking for is Chris Do. He is an Emmy award-winning designer, and he is also the founder of The Future. Now back to the show. But if you look up The Future, Futur, oh wait, Futur, right? There's no E.
Mm.
So you'll be able to
Yeah,
find this guy.
yeah. And the thing is, I was at the airport in the Geneva airport, and I saw this dude, yo, and it
You
didn't
saw
click
him?
that it was him. Yeah, I saw
Oh.
him. It didn't click that it was him until he left.
uh,
Yeah, I don't know who I was waiting for at the time, but I saw him walk out, him and his team, and I was like, fuck, this guy looks familiar. And then I was like, oh fuck, it's that future guy. And then I have my girlfriend's one of her best friends here is a graphic designer, like an actual graphic designer, and not just like a hobbyist. And she went to the seminar that this dude, talked to. So I was like, oh fuck, dude, I saw him at the airport and I didn't say hi. And yeah, so that was one of the things.
that's pretty crazy, man. He's
Yeah,
like a
so I would say,
unicorn for you.
yeah, kind of. So yeah, him. But yeah, I don't really have any like another one. Not really inspiration. I just like his work. Kensky, enough said. The dude from Enough Said, Kensky. Main Ingredients, I think.
Okay.
Main Ingredients. He used to have Enough Said clothing line.
Oh, okay.
I really like his stuff. He's a graffiti writer. He's Filipino. He used to have a
Oh,
clothing line.
last few questions, two more.
Mm-hmm.
Is what advice would you give to a driven college student about to enter the real world?
Ooh, a driven college student about to enter the real world. First off, take college seriously because you never know. You're gonna need that. Whatever you're studying for, if whatever your dream doesn't happen, it's a good plan B. So, second, it's just work hard, man. It's try to build that habit of working, get in the groove of doing things. I don't know if that makes sense, but like just get into the habit of doing work or putting in work, because that work ethic is gonna bring you far. It's gonna take you to places. So just build that work ethic, really. Yeah, that's about it. And just humble yourself. You're not gonna get the job that you want right away. You're gonna have to go through the shitty things to make you appreciate whatever good that comes later on. So go through the shitty things, man. It's okay. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Don.
Just,
Great.
yeah.
All right, you guys, dude. Don, it has been awesome having you on the Crossroads. Like
Thank you for
you've
having
actually
me,
shared a
man.
lot of great stuff. Yeah. Of
Cool.
course,
I'm
man.
glad.
Yeah.
I hope
Hopefully,
people like it.
dude, people are gonna like it,
Give you
and
some good content.
yeah, man, we're gonna have great content. You share such great content, and it's valuable too, because I think you
Thanks, dude.
not only shared a lot about yourself and your own journey, trials and tribulations, but
Mhm.
what has helped you the most in navigating, because you have a bright future ahead of you. I can see it. Like I know you
Thanks,
want
dude.
to continue
Appreciate
doing
it.
design, and I hope you keep pushing it, because there's something there.
I want to for
There's
sure.
something there. So
thank
we're
you,
gonna
dude.
keep following your journey, and we'll have you back on again when you've made some progress. Because
Man, thank you, dude. Thank you.
it'll be great. And so you make sure you guys follow Don on Instagram at don.lov. And
Yes.
Don, are there any last words you'd like to impart and share with the audience before we end?
You like Pokemon? I have another at Pokemon Files. There you go. I just photoshopped some Pokemons into my photos for fun. So
there you go.
that's actually a thing that me and my friend did. The guy Whiskey, the guy that gave me the 100 challenge. Yeah, because we would go to abandoned buildings and then we just take pictures and then we just like fuck it.
Is he the guy who's running from the Reggie steal?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it.
So me and him, we would just
That's
like
great.
explore Philly and like go to abandoned places, paint and take pictures, and then I don't know.
Bro, that's
We
pretty
like
fire.
Pokemon, so we just
Heck
like
yeah.
fuck it, let's explore and just put some Pokemons in the shit. So follow that too.
Follow the Pokemon Files too. It's pretty fire. I can attest to that.
Thanks, dude.
All right, Don. This has been great. Thank you so much for your time. Take care. Keep making the most of your situation back at home. And we'll see you next time. Don and Kai, signing out. What's up, you guys? It's Kai. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Crossroads. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts. Don't forget to follow us on TikTok and Instagram at The Crossroads, Z_. That is where we will keep you updated with new episodes and great and educational content throughout your day. Lastly, if you really enjoyed this episode and it's got you thinking, don't forget to tell a friend about it and converse about the topics that we talked about in this episode. The point is to grow as a community and as individuals, as creators. So continuing to allow this type of information to circulate throughout your daily life will help a lot in reinforcing it. That's all I have to say, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Take care. Peace.